And we go into that room, and there is no way in and no way out of that room. There was only one way in, and we went through it, but there was no one there. And that person was as real as, like I said, as if I was talking to anybody.
How old do you think he was?
He was maybe mid 40s. He was older, kind of gruffy looking, kind of looked like he was wearing um, like coveralls, maybe. And then he had like shaggy hair and facial hair. But you'll catch him. I still catch him at the top of the stairs, standing in the, like if you go up the stairs on, like you're going onto the second floor, you'll see him like he was just standing there waiting. And then once he sees you, he just walks. And then you'll run up the stairs, or in my case, I run back down the stairs. But if you run up the stairs, he's gone.
Do you think he's pretty fast on his feet?
It's pretty something. I'm faster though.
Well, that's a good thing. You know, you got to have track shoes on to go ahead and beat some of them, don't you?
Oh, now I'll push somebody down. I can run faster than anybody.
Oh, that's awesome. So, for events and everything like that you guys have going on, for say, for instance, up to June, is there a lot happening between the two locations?
Oh, in terms of privates or publics, or we do
You
so
know,
basically.
if you're gonna do a big event, like, do you have any big events coming up?
Well, everything's sold out. All the events we have up and coming are pretty much sold out. We generally do like a public investigation, and I'm going to get this wrong. Hopefully, Brooke or Chris will correct me. But we usually do a public event at OSPH the first Saturday of every month, and then we'll do the third Saturday of every month, and we'll do public events there. But they've been selling out pretty regularly. We have the Wraith Chasers coming up here in 2 weeks, but that's sold out. We have Brian and Rochelle from Ghost Hunters. I think they're coming in June. I think there's some tickets available left. But we're trying something a little bit different. Usually we cap our events off at about 40 to 45 people. And we're starting to do these events now where we just limit it to 12 people. And then we do what Chris and his team, Chris actually is part of a team called Fearful Encounters. But him and his team, so we do is we'll 12 people in, and we'll do fear challenges in the building. Like a good example is I'm sitting in an operating room all by myself and pretty much in the dark. So what we'll do is we'll take guests and we'll do the same thing with them and have them just sit in a room by themselves and let them see if they can conquer the fear of, number one, being alone in the dark, but number two, seeing if like a spirit will actually interact with them or, be part of that event. And we've done it in the past, very limited, but we're doing a little bit more up here coming. And it's really neat to see some of the reactions after our guests are put in that position we usually do 15 to 20 minutes where they're alone in the dark, and some of them will come out and say somebody was whispering in their ear. Some of them don't even make it to 15 minutes. We'll make them walk down a dark hallway by themselves, and some people come running back because we'll actually see like a spirit standing in like the hallway. So we're trying to kind of tweak some of our public events. So we're giving a more intimate, personal kind of event, as well as doing, the public events where we do like 40 to 45 people.
How cordial are the spirits there
Pardon?
at all? How cordial are the spirits at Old Harriman?
Oh, I think Chris can answer that question very well, can't you, Chris?
They're very, like I said, once you walk through these doors, I always have a story when I leave here from Old Historic Harriman Hospital. And just even coming up here and cleaning and putting in my hours, I will come back with a story, a personal experience that I had. So it's always a surprise when you come here.
So why don't you give us an example of something that's happened with them in the last week, say, while you were cleaning or whatever you were doing upstairs?
Well, I'll give Chris a second to think about that, because Brooke can probably tell you a really good story that's just recently happened to her, and what is called the psych ward.
Oh, so we were sitting in Jerry's psych, and we were using a grid light, and it was right after a public event, and we were kept seeing shadows cross, so much to the point that Ronnie was sitting there and picked up the grid light and was shaking it to make sure that it wasn't. Then we set it back down and it do it again, and we decided to quit because we thought something was wrong with the grid light, and the event was fixing to be over. So we went downstairs, but we left it sitting, and we decided to go back after everybody had left, and the shadow stopped. So we were like, okay. So as we were leaving, I looked over, and there was what looked to be like a nurse just standing there with her lips kind of pressed like we shouldn't have been there. She had like a long, probably shin, I guess it's called a T-length dress. Her cuffs were real wide. Her hair was pulled back, except for it was rolled where you could see this, and then a hat, and then it was rolled here. It was very, I don't know what period it would have been, maybe 40s or 50s. I found dresses that kind of look similar to what I've seen, and it said the 50s. But the only problem is that part of the building wasn't added until the late 70s or late 60s. So I don't know why she would be there and why she was so upset with us, but she didn't want us there. But I was there the night after I saw her.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Are you going to go back and approach her again and try to find out or
No.
not? No?
No, she didn't look very happy that we were there.
Okay.
But, there was this one thing. We were on the 4th floor, and we were doing a fear challenge. And I heard a phone ring. And I think Ronnie was up there. Were you up there?
I was, that's correct.
And the phone, it went da-ling, 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 da-ling. And there's no phones up there. There's no electricity up there. And I was done with the fear challenge. We went back downstairs.
You didn't go ahead and pick up a big thing of ice cream bars or anything and pass them around?
No.
No.
The ICU area. So I don't know what the call was for, but it was not for me.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
But we had information from another guest. I guess it was a month or two after that they had caught the same thing, but they caught it on record. They got it recorded.
Wow.
So
it
was validated, which is really neat.
That's the awesome part. There's always comes a time when things like that happen, and usually you're not ready for it and you don't get it. But when you get it, it's like the Holy Grail.
I think more of that. I think when you're not actually investigating, but when you're like Chris's team from Fearful Encounter, we do a lot of interacting with their team, and Chris and I and his team, everybody, we've all become really, really good friends. And so if we don't have the building rented for a weekend, or I'm sorry, for a weekday, they'll come up and we'll do these fear challenges. And we notice that a lot of times we'll get just off the hook activity because we're not really investigating. We're all just kind of together having a good time and hunting, but not really hunting. And I mean, Chris can tell you, go ahead, Chris, tell them all the different things that have happened when we've done fear challenges here.
We've heard whistling. That's a big thing here, especially here on the second floor where me and Ronnie are at. Full body apparitions is a big thing, but just, just hanging out and just vibing out in the dark here in the hallway and just talking amongst yourself. That's where we get most of our activity. I think it was a few weeks ago, we were out here, me and my team, and we were just chilling and, just having a good time after an event, just hanging out. And one of our teammates, her name's Ashley, actually heard a full whistle down the hallway. And I mean, even on the live, we were live on TikTok, 800 people heard it. It was a full-on whistle down the hall. We were the only ones in the building. And then we got up, went downstairs, was going downstairs to recover, like get some drinks. And then we saw a gentleman, looked like a gentleman, sitting in where Ronnie's sitting at the moment, slouched down in a chair. And I'm just going to tell you now, I levitated down the stairs so quick after seeing that. It scared me to death. But it's because I'm a chicken when it comes to the paranormal stuff, but I love what I do. And I always keep coming back for more and more of it. And, Harriman and Old South, I don't know. There's something about it. I keep coming back for more and more.
That's, especially Old South, that still had, after Ron got done redoing everything and, there was such a big difference in the whole building that the whole attitude seemed to have shifted. And some of the one or two of the things that I had seen or I had heard, I understand aren't there anymore. And I think it's because of how the whole atmosphere was changed. Is that the same way over at Harriman?
I don't think we've ever had anything real negative at Harriman. I think Harriman, I bought it straight from the city, and I don't think that we really had any, I don't know what the proper word would be saying, but any real negative, I don't know, any real negativity in the building. So I think really what we have seen and experienced here at Harriman has really been real positive. It's been pretty upbeat. It's been pretty in your face. But it hasn't been anything real negative. Like you said, South Pittsburgh, I know when I first bought it, it was a very kind of a drab, kind of a location that you went into and you kind of felt miserable. And I think a lot of it had to do with, what they were talking about with the building and the negativity and, some of the rumors that the old owners were conjuring up to, to sell tickets. And I think, as you said, Greg, we put a great team together. Brooke runs both locations. We have Fearful Encounters who helps us do everything. We have the Fun Girls who are another paranormal team here. I think that because we have such a positive attitude and because we really enjoy cleaning up the buildings, and I think we really have a real love for them, I think that positive, comes out in the residents that we have here.
Right.
And I think South Pittsburgh, once we moved 100 tons of garbage out of the building, I think the residents there were like, hey, these guys are taking care of this place. And, and there was a more positive vibe going on. And, I think that's really true. I think, when you even as being alive, if you hang around people who are real negative and, the sky is falling and all that other stuff, you kind of have that attitude too. And I think that, the group of people that I have with me that are keeping these locations clean and running, we're all very positive and we all have a lot of fun with what we're doing. And I think that really comes out in the spirits and the residents that are here. And I think, like I said, South Pittsburgh is a really great example of a location that was really kind of run down. And, there was a lot of rumors about it. And we come in and, management change, volunteer change, everything changed. And that positivity really kind of brings out the positive in the building. And I think all that negativity that you heard about, creepers that were supposedly in there a long time ago and that kind of stuff, I think they, we've uncovered the truth. And I think that's really important.
That's what it's all about. And when you do that, you go ahead and bring a sort of a foundation to everything that you're trying to accomplish in the building. And, you've done that twice now.
Well, it's not really me, Greg. Remember, I'm nothing
Well,
who helped me.
well,
Yeah,
you know, you're the artist, and you have a bunch of artists that are with you
but
that
it's
all
really
paint.
effort. I mean, and these guys really work their butts off. And like I said, Fearful Encounter and a lot of the people who are all part of my team really, really, they care about the buildings and they want to see them succeed and they want the residents to be happy. And, we keep our locations to, I think, a different kind of a level because we want you to come in the building and like not only have experiences, but we want you to see the beauty of what a hospital used to look like. And we want to see those kind of things. And so we can try and maintain them and keep them clean and that kind of stuff. So, you're not worrying about all sorts of yucky, gross and, ceilings caving in on you and, falling downstairs and that kind of stuff. So, the team's really, really smart about that. And, we're doing a whole bunch of stuff with South Pittsburgh. We're gardening there now. We're doing all sorts of different things with the building and really, the police department now is coming in and they're doing all sorts of things with us as well too. So we've really become kind of a community standard over in South Pittsburgh. And I think come by, they're like, whoa, you guys are really doing a lot of work. We're landscaping it. We're just really taking care of the building. And I think the rest of the building are like, wow, these guys are doing a great job.
I think that'll be the high point for me if I get a chance. You got somebody behind you?
Y'all hear that?
Yeah.
I got something on in here too.
What do you think?
I heard it sounded like, what do you call that? Operating tools, like clanging?
Like somebody was putting them in a tray or something?
Yeah, I hope you all heard that. That was kind of cool. Anyway, sorry about that. Gets really exciting when you don't pay attention and you hear something like that.
Yeah. They're right behind you.
Exactly where the operating table would be. So I'm like, you never know. Maybe I'll come out of here without an appendix or something.
Yeah, that's no good. So, Chris, how many years have you been doing what you do?
For about 4 years. And, I started at Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, just doing a day tour with my partner. And, I came in there not really believing the paranormal. I was a big skeptic. So I was just going in there, kind of making a joke about it. I did not believe that spirits were real until I caught my first EVP there. And it really shook me. I was just like, that's insane what we can pick up. So I kept going back, doing another overnight. And then after that, I did like 5 private overnights. And eventually I messaged, Ronnie and a couple of the volunteers and asked if I can work there. And then the rest is just history. I've been there ever since. And that's where I spend most of my weekends at. I work during the week and then come down to the hospital. And that's where I spend it at because I love it so much.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would love for you to go ahead and send me a link to your group. And if we get the opportunity, I would love to have you guys on. There's another group. What is it? Chattanooga?
Oh, Chattanooga Paranormal?
Yeah. Now,
yeah.
I've had them on before.
Yeah, they're really good people. They came to, I think, Old South a couple times.
Yeah, they're scheduled to come in October.
Okay.
Yeah, we had one night we did something like this. Only we had a bunch of people there, and we had about 8 people. Remember that? And just asking questions and giving answers, and it was Chattanooga, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, Brooke, are you overworked and underpaid?
No, I'm good.
Okay. I just, I don't know why I even asked it.
Well, I like doing it. I like the working on the buildings more than I do the paranormal. Because I'm just not made out for the scary stuff. But put me on a roof during the daytime and I'm good.
I will tell you, Greg, some of the most classic investigations we ever done are with these two, because when we'll be in a group of 8 or 10 people, and there'll be a clank or what. Anybody who knows what Scooby Doo is like, you've got Shaggy and Scooby down here. They so fast away from the ghost, all you see is the little. Oh, Brooke's gone dark.
My light went off.
Oh, oh.
As long as we don't. There you go. You're back. Look at her. Look at the look of frustration on her face. What's she looking at? Is there somebody over there?
Here.
She's listening for him. You think they turned your light off?
I don't know. They can't.
It's okay. Take a deep breath and say, "Hey, we love you."
Hey, we love you. Now go somewhere else.
But I think most of like what me and Brooke went through and when Ronnie was there was that time we were in geriatrics and hearing that door slamming and that grid light play. I think me and Brooke were cuddled up to one another so tight that night. We were, because I mean, it was just off the chain. But like I said, we love what we do. It's just, I guess we can't get the aspect of when you ask the spirit to knock and it knocks, or slam a door and a door slams. I guess that's the part of my mind that I can't be real.
Well, you know, I think if you went ahead and put yourself in the shoes of the spirit, that they don't want to go ahead and do tricks like in a circus either.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, the questions that I have started to go ahead and deal with for just the stuff that I do are all basically all human, just human and human.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make any difference really. I know I'll be going to hopefully I'll be going next week or the 24th. I'm going to be going to San Antonio, so that's where the team that I'm with now is, and that's the Texas Wraith Hunters.
Okay.
And that's Anthony Salavos.
Yeah,
And,
I follow him. He's pretty good.
do you know Anthony?
Yeah, I think I follow his Facebook page.
Anthony's a great guy, and we've been with him for a little bit. We're the only two guys. Me and my partner Reggie are the only two that work with their group, and we're all getting together to do some investigating that weekend up down there. And I'm really anxious to go to the Alamo. It's one of those places that I've always wanted to go.
Right? You can make it to San Antonio, but you can't make it to Tennessee.
You see how he just kicks me? He just kicked me.
I mean, he's made a valid point.
It's a very valid point. and if I had somebody, well, I have one guy that would go down there. So basically the first group that I was with when we first went down by you guys, and that was when we just pulled up. We had been driving for 10 or 11 hours, something like that, and we were at the back of the hospital. And I got up and I started walking because I had to get walking. And I walked towards, I think it was the emergency room, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they had the plywood up there and they had the double doors. And I was about 15 feet away from them. And that's when the doors just started to go, whoa, 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 whoa. I mean, but the noise they made stopped me. And Michael, who was behind me by about 15 feet, he thought I was grabbing the doors and doing it.
They were trying to say, Greg, come in, Greg.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that was going to work for some reason. But anyway, it went on for probably a good 8 count. And you could see the glass flexing and everything. And then I said to Michael, I said, why don't you go over there and grab those doors and see if, and I started to film it to see if we couldn't make the same noise that whatever it was that was pushing from the other side was making. And we couldn't come close. And Michael's a big guy, real tall. The noise was just, it was like, well, you guys want to come in here? Okay. We'll let you see this. And it was like, boom, 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 boom.
That's pretty cool.
It was that was a great weekend, or a great couple of days. I think we went on in the middle of a week, if I'm not mistaken. But
Well, we need to get you back down here, Mr. Greg.
I know.
San Antonio.
Yeah, I'm the kind of person that, you want to do everything and you want to do it right now. And I know I've been talking to you about this for how many years now. So, I mean, it's,
We want you to come down and witness what we witness every day, so you can come back to your radio show and say, wow, they were right.
it would be pretty spectacular. We could actually do a show from down there, I bet.
Sure.
A live show. We can ask them to come in and dance. Do they dance at all down there?
I think you're mixing San Antonio with Tennessee. I think, doesn't San Antonio do the two-step? Here we do the
what I was gonna when you go ahead and you make the comparison and you go ahead and you say every day you go to your place, whether it's Harriman or Old South Bit, do you go there with anticipation, or do you go there just saying I'm going to my job? How do you handle that?
Usually I'm going because I get a phone call and say the roof is leaking or the toilets are backing up, or, they're old buildings, or, so we generally go with no anticipation whatsoever. We usually go to fix something, or we go to plant trees, or we go to, and then generally in the process of doing that is when we get that activity is really like, we'll be doing something. And like a good example is here at Harriman. Harriman, if when you get the opportunity to come down, Harriman, really tomorrow, if you decided to fix up a couple of things and put beds in here, you could theoretically open this hospital tomorrow as a hospital. I mean, it's in that good of condition. And so we have movies that actually film here quite a bit, which one of them is being released here in the next couple of weeks. There's a horror movie that's going to be released, I think, sometime in midsummer. And so when they come, they ask our staff and myself to do some very specific things. And the original movie that came out, they wanted a lot of the lights changed over to LED because they're softer on their equipment. So I was actually changing LEDs, and I was on the top rung of the ladder, and I was changing out the LED. And like I said, I was just here doing my job. We weren't investigating, we weren't doing anything. And the rest of the team went out for lunch, and they were bringing the lunch back, and I was on the top rung of the ladder, and I felt somebody grab the back of my calf so hard that it, like I knew somebody was grabbing me. And then I hear a whisper that says, "Be careful." Well, I turned around and I thought, the staff had gotten here and, they were just looking out for their boss. And I looked down and there's nobody there. So I climb down the ladder. I go outside, catch a deep breath because it really kind of shook me up a little bit. So I go back inside the building and I sit down in one of the chairs that's in our lobby and kind of thinking of what my next thing, my next direction that I was going to fix was going to be. And you know how you feel like a spirit walk by, you feel that kind of energy. Well, I felt the energy and kind of that brush of air go past me, and the chair next to me actually made that kind of, when you sit on the cushion, it goes, psst. Well, I felt that. I heard it. And then I hear, "I'm glad you're okay." Greg, there's nobody next to me. I went out, sat on the porch, and waited for my staff to get here. They all come up, and I'm white, and they're like, "What happened?" I told them what was going on, and Rhonda is kind of our, I don't know what you call her, our everyday girl here. Rhonda looks at me and goes, "Oh, that happens to you too?" Because Rhonda's here every day, and she does a lot of work, and she can tell you, I mean, she gets talked to daily. It's amazing. I was like, "Oh, really? That happens?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah." She's like, "I'll be sweeping something, and somebody will tell her, 'Good job.'" And so, like, I don't think any of us really come with the anticipation that we're communicating. I think we come with the anticipation that we're here to work, to clean, to do our jobs, and then they make their presence known. And I really think if more paranormal investigators would take that kind of approach, instead of sitting in a hallway going, "What year did you die? What's your name? Blah, blah, blah." If they took the approach like they were there for a reason, like, you know, like doing an interview on a doctor, like, you know, what is your favorite, you know, surgery to do, or something like that, I think they get a lot more experiences, because my team and I mean, the stuff that we have witnessed, seen, heard, it would just make it'd make your eyes roll. You'd be like, "Holy cow, really?" And a lot of times we don't really share a lot of that stuff because we're afraid of being, you know, ridiculed, and we're afraid of people going, "Oh, you're just making this stuff up." So most of us as a team just keep it to ourselves, and we share it amongst ourselves, because I don't think people really realize what building owners and volunteers who interact with them on a daily basis, the experiences we have. And I think it's if somebody really wanted to come up with a great TV show, they would film in a building, us cleaning and maintaining it, because that's really when the activity really happens. I mean, you can ask Chris and Brooke, it's daily. I mean, it's literally daily here that we will come and be interacted with, or something just off the hook will happen, and we're like, and the problem with that too is that being here as much as we are, we kind of look at it like, "Oh, how you doing?" And we go back about our business. And I think it's just a whole different level of what we see versus somebody who comes in and spends 10 hours in the building. You know, they're like, "Oh, that was kind of cool." But I mean, it's such a different level. And I think Chris and Brooke would really agree with that.
Do you guys do a lot of ITC there?
What is ITC?
Instrumental transcommunication.
No, we don't. Not really. I don't.
You know, spirit box, all your spirit box work, and
No,
like what you do with Estes, and that's
we do it for public. And I'm sorry I didn't know the initials to that. I feel really stupid now.
no.
The thing is that most of the stuff we do, I'm a really big believer that, like, those kind of devices can be programmed and manipulated, and there's a good possibility that they're not accurate. The stuff that we experience is undescribably, there is no way to describe it. I mean, the stuff that we experience while we're maintaining the building, I don't know how to describe, but there's nobody can look at me and say, "Well, you know what, your brain's wired because it's pre-programmed, blah, blah, blah." The stuff that we experience here is just, you know, it's not a cell phone telling me that, you know, this is happening, or it's a device that some guy created in his basement, or, you know, like a REM pod that goes off, you know, with a walkie-talkie or anything like that. These are experiences that we have that are personal, are things that my team and I and Brooke and Chris will tell you that we have, that, you know, Brooke's had her hair pulled. You know, Chris has been approached and been touched in the building. Stuff that, like, there's no way that it didn't, you know, that it didn't happen. Whereas, you know, if you have a REM pod, you don't know if somebody's using a walkie-talkie, or somebody didn't, you know, they didn't take their phone and put it on an airplane mode, you know, or if you're using some kind of, you know, device. It's really hard to tell what the programming is on those devices. But if you're having these interactions that, like us, having a conversation right now, you know, it's undescribable. You know, I mean, you can't say that, you know, that's really not Greg's voice. Greg isn't really talking to you. I know I'm having a conversation with Greg. When we're walking through the building and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and me and Brooke and Chris are the only 3 here, and Harriman shuts down at like 8 o'clock at night, and you hear two people talking in the hallway, and the three of us look at each other and can actually understand what the conversation is. How do you describe that? How do you tell me that we didn't just hear what we heard? And I think that we kind of go away from that. And while we're working, when we're investigating, yeah, we do, everybody uses devices and tools because it's the way to communicate. And, Fearful Encounter does a lot of TikTok and that kind of stuff. So it's a way that the paranormal is kind of normal, uses that as a norm. But I think when we're doing our work here, there's a lot of personal experiences that we have on a daily basis that don't require any devices to communicate with them.
Okay.
Wonder if I described that right. How'd that sound?
I think you hit it out of the park. My only point was the fact that, I do a lot of ITC, and I do that show on Wednesdays. And we were talking about that, you and me, a while ago.
Right.
And at the end of the show tonight, I want to talk about it a little more.
Right.
Not right now, but, it brought it back to me, and it would be interesting, to say the least, because I do locations. Like, I do, I have Missouri, I have Minnesota, I have Texas, I have Louisiana, I have all these different locations. And when you do it at that level and you're using more than two people, it's the magnification of the energy that's actually going from spot A to spot B. And that's the only way to describe it. And, you start to think, if somebody asked you guys, when you say it's all spirit there, do you feel at any point that there's something else there besides spirit?
Well, we talk about this quite a bit too, because it's a big challenge here. And Brooke will tell you, and Chris will tell you, I'm from Chicago. You know that. Greg, I live right down the road from you pretty much. But we're in an area where we're in the Bible Belt. And what we do a lot of times is really frowned upon, because I don't think people understand it. And I also think people feel that when you pass away, your soul goes to heaven and that's it. Everything's gone. And I know, Greg, you and I talked about this in great length at one time, because I take it a step further. And I really, really think, and I believe in God, I believe in souls, and I believe in, but I also believe that everybody's got a spirit. And I believe that the soul and the spirit are completely different in a human being. And your soul goes to wherever it's supposed to go, whether it's heaven or hell. But I think your spirit is left behind. And I think that energy that your spirit has is what's left in this building. And I'm not a big believer in demons. I don't believe in them. I don't believe in that kind of a thing. But I do believe that there's an energy that we're all made of. I mean, we shock your heart with electricity to get it started again. So your heart is an electrical device that's pulsing. Your body is made of, everything electrical. So, according to Newton's law, nothing, energy can't be destroyed or created, correct? So when you die, Greg, where does that energy go? Well, that energy is made up of your spirit. So why can't that energy be in these walls of hospitals or homes or any place that you and I made an electrical imprint in this building? And why can't that energy be intelligent? Why can't from time to time that energy communicate? Why can't it leave a footprint of Greg and his personality and his spirit and everything behind? And to me, that's what we're communicating with. We're communicating with the spirit of Greg that remains on this earth, but your soul is either in heaven or hell where it belongs. And so me, that's kind of what I believe. And people are like, oh, you're chasing demons and you're doing what's wrong. You're doing this. I'm like, no. This is my philosophy, and I'll never know until I pass away. Hopefully it won't be anytime soon. But I really, really believe that's it. And I believe that's what we're all communicating with, is that spirit, is that energy that makes up Greg, that makes up Brooke, that makes up Chris, that makes up me. And that's what's left behind.
Do you ever have any feelings down there where there's other things that are going on, like from up above? aliens type things?
Oh, we have this discussion too, Greg. You know that. And I think Brooke and I and Chris and I have had this discussion. I would think as a human being, I'd be really, really selfish and kind of stupid to think that we're the only people in this vast universe. I mean, there's got to be other life forces out there. There's got to be other, whether they're more intelligent or less intelligent than us. I would be really naive and stupid to think that Earth and human beings are the only people in this vast universe. I think there's aliens, and I'll take it a step further. I think we've been visited. I think Brooke and I just had this conversation a couple days ago that I think they walk among us. I think that there's a lot of things that we're going to uncover here pretty soon, like the Great Pyramids in Egypt and, all that stuff. I think there's aliens been here long before we even can figure that out. And I think they're still here.
Mike, Rick Sacker.
Guys doesn't know what to say now.
Mike Rick Sacker is a gentleman who does a lot of those specials on the channel that shows all the UFOs and everything. And I've known him for years, and he's unbelievable. And the thing that shocked the hell out of me was they were down in the main Big Parent Cheops, I think it was, way down underneath in these chambers down there that nobody even knew they were there, that they just discovered. And at each and every doorway was the Stargate symbol. And then I just went, wow, this is another thing that, I think we have an upper hand because we have the ability to not only talk to spirit and understand them, and they can understand us, but also, as far as the other different types of spirits or entities or whatever you'd like to call them, they may all be one and the same. And we had that instance down at another location where we crossed somebody over. I was there working with this other person, and things were going down, and they were going down really fast. And then it stopped. And the person sort of went away from us for a minute. And we were going, well, it probably means that he doesn't want to do it. And then right away, somebody else came back in, and it was a woman. And at first, she was giving answers like she was the guy. And the reason she was doing that was she didn't want him to leave her. But he was ready to leave and cross.
But here's my question to you, Greg, is when somebody is actually referring to crossing a spirit over, what does that mean to you? Does that mean that spirit is going to heaven? Or does that mean that the spirit is being relocated to a different point in their
existence?
Could you have crossed that spirit over to being a child again? Could you have moved that spirit to just a different realm of time? Because my belief is that soul is already in heaven. So if that's the case, that spirit wouldn't really be going to heaven. You would just be relocating that spirit to a different time or to a different environment or to a different location. Because
go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was looking at it strictly from the point of go to the light, which is the terms that you hear consistently from a lot of people that do that kind of work. I don't do that work.
Right.
Okay. I was so awestruck by what had taken place that 4 days later, I kept on replaying it because I couldn't believe it actually happened. It was that unbelievable of a thing to take place. Now, as far as you guys are concerned, have you ever had an opportunity like that there where you ran into somebody that said that they wanted to just move on?
No, I think you can ask Chris and Brooke. I think most of the spirits, the residents that we have here, have been they're pretty content. I think most of them are pretty. I think that they're still telling stories, and they're still interacting with us really well. We haven't really had anybody, who's communicated with us, saying, "Oh, I'm not happy here, or I want to move on," or anything like that. I think most of the spirits here have made their presence known, and I think most of them are pretty entertained by most of us and the work that we do. So, I haven't really run into that situation. But from that point of view too, is we don't really, like I said, most of the communication that I think our team has is primarily from a personal level, is from us being in the building and us working and them really looking out for us, or them coming to us and saying, "Hey, we're here. Take note of us. Like, notice that we're here." Like Brooke was talking about the gentleman in the building that like, it's almost like, I think Chris and Brooke will kind of agree with this, is they're almost like looking at us like, "Hey, good job. Like, notice us that we're here." If like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's not really an issue of like, "Oh, we're happy and we don't want to be here." It's more of like, I guess when I'm in the building, I feel like we're being watched, and we're almost being to the point where it's like they're criticizing us for doing the job the wrong way or doing it the right way, or that kind of thing. I never feel like, and I'm not gifted at all. I think Brooke's got a little bit in her and she'll deny it all the time. But Brooke will see things that nobody else sees, and Brooke will hear things that nobody else sees. And you can ask Brooke, I don't think she or I ever come across anything like that.
That's where, that's the neat part to me. And it always has been, because we give off our aura to them, and they know exactly what they're dealing with.
Right.
And that's, so I don't have a lot of apprehension in me. I'm sort of laid back like you guys, as far as, you just living it, and they're there with you. And that's important.
Well, I think they kind of look at us as friends. I think, Rhonda's here every day, and Rhonda gets activity that, like, I look at her like, you need to lay off the pills, girl. I mean, she'll tell us stories that you're just like, but then Brooke and I or Chris or one of the teammates will walk down the hall with her. She'll literally call them, and all of a sudden the doors will slam. You'll hear footsteps. I mean, am I not right, guys?
Yeah, there's like times where you're just like, it's unreal. Because I mean, I've been here with Rhonda just to come here during the week at a random time just to hunt, and literally just me and her in the building, and she'll scream off the top of her lungs, "Hello," and then you get a man in the next room saying hello to you back, and she's clapping and going on, and I'm over there petrified, like, what the hell was that?
Well, yeah. How many people do you have in your group, Chris?
There's 7 of us total.
So do you guys come over to like Old South? And,
yeah, volunteer with it first started out with, me and my partner, and then Ashley, that's on our team. And then we just started building from there. People I've met at work, and then just so on. People that's come into Publix, became good friends, and, made sure their vibes were good. And it's, been best friends ever since. And I wouldn't ask for a better team or a better hospital staff team. So we love everybody.
I think that town is just awesome. I just, for the amount of time that I've been there, it's not a lot, but it would grow on me quite fast. I would have a hard time going ahead, and I'd have to start puncturing the tires on the airplane.
I'll tell you, Greg, that I'm in Chicago one week, and I'm here in Tennessee one week, and it's almost like, and I don't know how you describe it, because I've never really been an alcoholic, or I've never abused drugs in my life, but I can understand where somebody has that, like, I don't know what it is, or that, oh my God, I've got to have that drink, I've got to have that fix, or whatever it is. Because when I leave the hospitals, I look so forward to coming back. And it's like, it just never, Chris will tell you, they're the same way. It just never leaves you. And you're like, it's
exciting.
It's like an addiction.
Yeah.
And
That's why when you know, Brooke, when you say that stuff, you know, I sort of look at it and say, boy, you know, if I was you, I would be thanking them over and over and over again for giving me the opportunity to share my gifts with them. It did it make any sense, or did you?
Well, I get it. I'm glad that they're nice and friendly and really like to approach people, but I don't know. I kind of wish they could just give me a warning, you know.
Well,
Hey, you're coming upstairs. I'm right at the top. I mean,
well, that's, you know, that's
little
you're not asking for too much,
no. I mean,
but maybe it's going to take a few times for them to become accustomed to it compared to where they've been, you know. And you know, with the people that I know, I always go ahead and give that side off, because that's the side that I love the most, is where you can feel them and you know they're there and you can talk to them. And you know, some people they'll say, aren't you afraid? And I just go, afraid of what? The dark. We've all been in the dark. We've all been in the dark, you know, and that's not a bad thing to happen. Ronnie looks like he's getting ready to go ahead and pull the pin here or something.
no, I'm just laughing because the two that are down there, Chris and Brooke, they don't like the dark. So it's just funny that you're telling them that, oh, it's okay to be in the dark. They do not prefer to be in the dark. And that's one thing that I think is really funny, because these two are probably two of my, you know, dearest, most dear friends. And you know, they're here with me all the time, and we're in the dark a lot. But I will tell you, if something makes a noise or a door slams, I'm left alone. But I will tell you that who I'd rather be in the dark with, as long as there's no noises going on, than these two, because you know what, they both work really hard, they both really care, you know, for the locations, and they're two of my best friends in the whole wide world, and like I couldn't do this without either one of them. But like I said, if a door slams in the middle of the night in the dark, I guarantee you I'm standing in the hallway by myself, and they're in another county by the time I find them.
I think it's the loud noises that what brings it up, because like I think it was like one night me and Ronnie were going down under geriatrics, went downstairs to I think shut some windows that someone propped open, and we heard like I don't even know how to explain it, like a paper that crumbled up.
Yeah.
And it was dark, so my reaction in the dark, didn't know what it was. I screamed, jumped on his back almost. He screamed. It was just a hot mess, but it's that experience is what makes this stuff fun and makes me want to come back. It's the laughs about it, and a lot of people forget how to have fun in the paranormal field, because it's more like, you know, people competing with one another, and that's what I love about, you know, working here at the hospital and my own team itself, because I mean, we're in it for the fun and the experiences, and just keep coming back for more.
I've never seen anything like that at Old South. And that's what I liked about it right off the bat, was the way everybody worked together. Mm-hmm. And this is before Ronnie even got old Harriman. And he had done some unbelievable things there. And if I was living there and I was a spirit, I would say, wow, this guy's okay. You know, which I know, you know, you're gonna have to. I'll take it in small bills later after the show, Ron.
He's the slave driver.
I marked $5 bills, huh, Greg?
But that's the neat part, you know. That's why I enjoy having you guys on, because it's like old home week to me.
Right.
And I know you guys look at me like I'm some sort of crazy man, but
Oh no.
it's the way we perceive it. It's the way we go about it. It's our time, and not necessarily to shine, but just to communicate.
Right. You know what? And I think our team and Fearful Encounter, and and our group of people here, we don't treat this like a big competition. We don't treat it like, our evidence is better than yours, or our location is better than yours. Like Chris nailed it really on the head. We do this because it's fun. We do this because it's interesting. I don't think anybody is ever going to have the answer until we pass away, or somebody designs some incredibly awesome machine that I couldn't even tell you. But I think the reason we do it is it's something that's really neat and unexplainable. And when we come across evidence, or when we come across an experience or something like that, we don't compare ourselves to anybody else. We don't say, oh, this happened to us and it's never happened to you. No. We do it really because our personal experiences, and as Chris said, it's fun, it's entertaining, and the camaraderie that we have as a team and as individuals is second to none. We really all thoroughly enjoy each other. We enjoy the work we do together. We enjoy the nights where we get scared. We enjoy the nights where we sit in a room for 4 hours and absolutely nothing happens. You take the good and you take the bad, but one thing our team is really good about doing is being a team. And, no part is bigger or better than the other. We're all together, we're all in it together, and we enjoy what we do. And, I always told my team, once it becomes fun, I'm selling the hospitals and, going somewhere else, because I don't think that this is really a field or, an industry that shouldn't be fun. We're all looking for answers and we're all looking for explanations, but if we're not having fun looking for those things, and we're too busy beating each other up and, oh, Brooke got touched, why didn't I? No, you didn't, you're a liar. It just doesn't work that way. So, when something happens to Chris or Brooke or one of our teammates, we all come together and like, oh, that's cool. We pat each other on the back, and then we move on. And I think the paranormal has become, so competitive, like Chris said, that teams are just out for the holy grail of this, that, or whatever. And, we're just not into that. We're into, enjoying the experiences that we get here, and maintaining 2 extremely beautiful buildings that have, rich history. One of them was opened in 1938, the other one in 1958. These buildings are getting up there in age, and they've got stories to tell, and they're beautiful buildings inside, and, millions of people have crossed these doors and thresholds, and, and that's the stories that we want to tell. And, if we do have a good story to tell you, we're going to tell you. If we don't, we're not going to make something up to make it look even more, appealing to anybody. We're going to tell you the truth. And, we're going to tell you, hey, last night we had a group here and they got absolutely no evidence. 0. And then we had a group the night before that it was off the hook for. We're going to tell you the truth. And I think that's what's really important. And we don't want that competitive, nature, even amongst us as teammates. We're all in this together. We all live together. We all die together. And, like I said, Chris isn't any more important than Brooke is or I am. I think we're all together, and the camaraderie and the teamwork that we have really makes, our team one of the best, I think, at running, a paranormal location.
I had somebody ask me about 2 weeks ago about filming. What is the policy for filming now out there? Either one.
We, because of YouTube and because we're in the Bible Belt, we know, and I'm not going to throw any names out there because this is not right, but YouTube has kind of gone to the demonic end of everything, where everything's a demon, and this is the scariest building in the world and stuff like that. So we have come across, it's a very, very simple filming procedure. You can come in, you can film whatever you want. If you do have evidence that you come across and you want to share it on the internet, as long as it's an unedited clip, which means like, let's say I have a voice recorder and I get an EVP and I'm going to take that voice recorder and I'm going to put it on YouTube or I'm going to put it on Facebook. You're not going to edit it. You're basically just going to cut it. You're going to use that. That's fine. We don't ask for anything for that. What we ask for is if you're going to do a YouTube video that is 30 minutes or longer, that you're going to edit. So like, let's say you spend the whole night here and you put a history in the beginning and your evidence in the middle and then your closing at the end. Brooke reviews all the videos. So we just ask you to send the video prior to being downloaded on Facebook or YouTube or any social media platform. And the reason being for that is we want to make sure primarily that the history that you're doing on the locations is accurate. And you know this, Greg, you and I have talked about this in great detail. When we bought South Pittsburgh, we spent a lot of time with the city trying to get that building reopened because the old owners were just going crazy with really bad lies, about a community hospital. You have to remember this hospital was closed 13 years ago, so a lot of people who worked here are still alive. And we don't want their reputation to be tarnished by somebody coming up with a YouTube video saying that there was an orderly running down the hall suffocating people with pillows and make this huge story out of something that isn't validated. So we ask to make sure that you send that so we can look at the history. Brooke does it. She does it in probably a couple hours, and then she'll give you the thumbs up or thumbs down. And I'll give you a really good example coming up here too. We don't, whatever evidence you come up with is your evidence. We're not going to ask you to change it. We're not going to ask you to do that. We're going to ask you to omit anything that's demonic, anything that has to do with Satan or any of those terms. But like a good example is Brooke did one about a year ago, and they ran the, the advertisement for it. Well, Brooke and I were watching it, and I shouldn't say that Brooke was watching it, and she had noticed that they had a chalkboard in their teaser that said something about, demonic rituals that were done at the hospital. Well, Brooke threw up the red flag. She sent it to me right away, and she says, "Where's this?" So we had Rhonda come to the hospital, look for the chalkboard. We couldn't find it anywhere. There was no chalkboard in here that had demonic symbols on it. So we reached out to the YouTube video person and said, "Hey, this is not, where'd you get this from?" Well, we found out that they actually Googled the history of the hospital, and they got a hospital that was actually in Texas, and they put that in the trailer. And I was like, "Well, we can't do that. That's not our hospital. We don't have that." And the group was really good about it. They're like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry. We just Googled it. We put it out there. They took it out of the trailer and redid it." That's the kind of things that we're looking for. We're looking for falsification of history or just things that never happened here. And the group was fantastic. I mean, they were really good. They were like, "Okay, we'll get rid of it. We're sorry." They apologized. And then the full-length video came out. Brooke got to review it. She looked at it, and it was spot on. So we let it go. And then we give them the thumbs up, and they run it. It's primarily the reason we do it is we want to protect the history of the hospital. We want to protect the people who, this was their career, this was their livelihood. This is, we're in a community. We're in a small community where people put their heart and soul in both of our buildings, and we don't want their reputation tarnished by somebody saying, not even making up history. Like in that situation, it was just a mistake. It was just really a mistake. And we don't want those mistakes to come back on the people who've worked here. Or to tarnish, the building that's been here since 1938 that has, healed and cured and birthed so many people. We just want to make sure the reputation stays good. And like I said, we get YouTube videos. We've got filming, probably 3, 4, 5 times a month of YouTubers who come out. We tell them the roles, and they're like, "Oh, I understand." They'll send us the video. Brooke gets it done in about an hour. We send it back to them and say, good job, blah, blah, blah. And they seem to be happy with it. The groups that understand it have absolutely no problem with it. They're like, "Yeah, we get it." And then the groups that don't understand it will sometimes give us a hard time. And, Brooke or I or one of the teammates will say, "Hey, just exactly what we're talking about now." And then they're like, "Oh, that makes a lot of sense." And, like I said, it's really for the protection of the buildings and the people who, called this home that we do it for. So But as for filming, I mean, we encourage it. We have movies filmed here. We've got YouTubes. We've got short stories here. PBS has been here. I mean, we've had just a gamut of different, outlets that have filmed both in Hollywood and PBS and locally. And, everybody's done so far really good. So we want to continue on that track so that both hospitals get the good reputation that they deserved while they were open.
You were mentioning before about the people from Old Harriman that are still alive. Do any of those people come in?
Oh, yeah. We talk to them all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, what was she, Brooke? Like an 89-year-old woman who was born here in, the 40s, I think, or whatever. Was that make her 89? She was born in the 40s?
The room where she was born.
What was that?
Wanted to see the room where she was delivered.
Yeah. She wanted to see. We've even got volunteers that are on our team that actually their careers were here, that are part of our volunteer team.
Oh, wow.
So it's really neat. So the stories that we generally tell to people can be validated by many, many different people, because we have Harriman, when we first bought it, was a challenge, and Brooke will tell you, talking to the community, a lot of the community didn't really want to open up and talk to us. As they realized that we're not sitting in dark rooms like I am right now, and we're not conjuring up demons and devils and doing what's wrong, all of a sudden the world the Harriman began to realize that what we're doing is actually good. We're doing things that are the proper way, and we're not demon chasing. And all of a sudden people started filtering information to us. One of the doctors actually lives down the road from us, and he walked through here, I think it was last summer, right, Brooke?
It was when we first opened.
And he walked through the building. Now he's a little bit on the other side, so he got a little information crossed up, but he's walking through the building, pointing out the maternity ward and psych ward, and he told us some really unique stories about the hospital when it was opened. And so I think as time goes by, we're beginning to have a really good reputation here in the town of Harriman, and people have, come forth, and we've got people who are like, oh, I was born there, my aunt was born there, my mom was born there, and then the stories come filtering in, and that's what we really try and, pass on to people who come to the hospital, are those true stories. And some of them are pretty frightening stories. We've got stories of nurses who have seen a man in a bow tie who walks into a room, and right after he walks into the room, there's a code blue and the person dies. They look for the man in the bow tie and they can't find him. And these are nurses who have witnessed this when the hospital was open.
Wow. That's pretty crazy. That's the kind of thing that, makes you want to keep on coming.
Right.
I know there's a lot of people, that of all the people that you've had there, and the people that I've talked to before they've come by you, that, from Paracons and things like that I run into, that, I always, this is, you got a 1-2 combination here. And, that's way up at the top for me. And that's the only way to put it. And I'm sure that you guys all appreciate the fact that people love you guys too. Because there's a lot of people in the community that, there's only special places that they really, really love. And to me, this is 2 of them. It certainly isn't Brushy Mountain, okay?
Well, it's hard to maintain the locations. And I think, like I said, one thing that's really important to myself, my staff, to Brooke, to Chris, to everybody involved, is that we keep the locations true to history, and that we keep, everything involved in both locations, very honest and upfront. And, we've shut down lives of people who have been doing lives, not their lives, but they were doing lives on Facebook, where we shut them down because they started, talking about stuff that we can't validate. And one of the things that we don't want to do, like I said, is we don't want somebody to look at a YouTube down the road and start looking at information that we can't validate. Because know how it goes is, one person says this, and then it just blows up into, something that's really, really bad. And so we want to really stop it at at the beginning, so that we know that what's going out there, the information that's being given can be validated. And some things in the paranormal world will never be able to validate. But when you come across, some of the things that you have to remember, we're in a small town. If something really bad were to have happened in this hospital, it's not going to be quiet. I mean, everybody knows everybody in these towns. If and like I said, the lady who was telling everybody that there was an orderly that was suffocating people with a pillow, I asked, because that was the first thing I did, was try and get validation for what she was saying, and I couldn't get any validation. And so we shut it down right away and said, this can't be talked about because we can't validate it. And in a small town like we're in, somebody would have heard about it, or somebody would have known, and then we could have validated it, and we could have given her the credit for what she came across. But we just can't afford to have that type of rumor going around without any validation.
All right. Well, you guys have done an excellent job. I'm sure that you can tell by the amount of people that always want to come and visit you guys. That's for sure, and that's important, because that shows that you're on the right track. You've done you've crossed all your T's and dotted your I's, and that's something you don't see very much in the paranormal community. I mean, you see just places that are all beat up and run down, and people are just where I feel the same way you guys do, that when you have something that's almost like it was when it was open, that you can see why it attracts the spirit.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be creepy and be ran down to be haunted. It can definitely be beautiful and a shiny penny and still be haunted. And I think me as a resident, when I pass away, wherever I linger or decide to stay, I certainly want to stay in a place where the owners are taking care of it, versus a place that is kind of decaying and falling into the earth. And I'm not the only one. There's a lot of really good owners out there. We've been to a lot of different places that care as much as we do, and there's a lot of really great owners out there, and there's a lot of really good teams out there. But there are people, like you said, who just they see it as a cash cow and put money in their pocket. And my staff will tell you that we put a ton of money back into our buildings. I mean, I'm not, I'm wearing the same T-shirt I was yesterday, and we're not, going out on these, whatever you want to call it, vacations all the time and all that kind of stuff. We're putting the money back into the buildings, and I think that's really important, especially when you're talking about buildings that are 50, 60 plus years old. They need that love, they need that maintenance, they need that care, and that's where our money goes. I mean,
I still haven't seen the pictures from the vacation yet.
Well, I will tell you that
I just threw that in there. You don't have to even reply to it if you don't want.
Right.
But Chris, it's been awesome. Love to meet your team. If we get an opportunity to get you on, we'd love to have you.
Definitely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Brooke, as usual, you light up the whole evening.
Aw, thanks.
God.
Well, I'm trying to be nice. She was sitting there a couple minutes ago looking bored.
No, I'm not really looking bored. I keep looking around this corner because I keep hearing something around the corner.
Did you tell him to come on in and sit down on your lap?
No. I've just our guests walking around. That's what I keep telling myself. It's just a guest outside the door.
They're on the 4th floor right now. You're alone.
But we're going to say goodbye to everybody, and if you guys want to hang around for a few after we shut down, we'll do that.
Thanks for having us on, Greg.
Oh, thank you very much. You guys are awesome, and you always do such a great job. I wish I could have you on every once a month.
Oh, we'd be happy to, wouldn't we, gang?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go ahead and write that down. Hold you to it. Okay, everybody, have a good evening, and it's been great having you all here. And if you have any other questions or anything, you could ask me, or you could go ahead and get a hold of Ronnie or Brooke or Chris and ask them too. So without any further ado, I'm going to say goodnight to everybody, and we will see you guys next week. And we're just going to go ahead and hit it now. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Let me get this here. All right.
Ouch! Ow.